Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So a quick Jeep video for you today. I just got done doing about 200 miles of the Georgia Traverse, which is this off-road trail that goes across the part of northern Georgia through the mountains. Lots of water crossings, some technical off-roading. Most of it's just trail riding. Anyway, I bought some takeoff wheels for this from a Jeep Wrangler, I think a Willys, with a 255 75 17 size. So most people will start asking me like, hey, how did you fit 17-inch wheels on your Jeep Grand Cherokee? So this video is kind of just a real quick video to show you how to do it the proper way, because I couldn't find anybody that had done it this way. Maybe there was, but they didn't post about it. Either way, the improper way is to grind down your calipers because the calipers hit, and I think that is just probably one of the worst ideas you can do. And the other not so good idea is to put on front wheel spacers. They're never really a good idea anyway. But the main thing is when you put on wheel spacers, you have to have like 1.5 inches in the front. Now your wheels contact and you get rubbed. So I took this, like I said, 200 miles, quite a few times. I was on 3 wheels, articulating, full lock. They don't rub at all. They are the perfect size for this. Now, granted, this does have quadrilift, so I had it in off-road too most of the time. But either way, it never rubbed regardless of the height of the suspension. So let me show you how to do this. All right, so this is actually a pretty easy job. Let's just pop off the stock 20 to show you what I'm talking about. Now with our wheel off, we can see why we can't mount the factory wheel. Show you here real quick. You mount it on here. Now the wheel's just kind of in place. You can see that it just completely contacts. It's not just the weights there. It's actually just, as soon as you try to start bolting in there, it's physically touching there. There's no way for it to mount. Both the bracket up there, all the way around. So it's not going to work. So the reason it's not working is because you have the HD brakes. So what is the HD brakes? It's a 350 millimeter rotor and then this bracket. That is what makes up the HD system. The caliper and pads are the same. The knuckle is the same. The way you know if you have the HD brakes, if it says 0317 here, that is the bracket for the HD brakes. So what we need to do is we just need to get the smaller rotor from the non-HD version and the bracket. Everything else is the same. You don't have to bleed your calipers. You don't have to change pads unless your pads are worn or anything like that. You don't have to change the knuckle, nothing. And so it's a pretty simple swap. So yes, you're going from 350 down to 330. So a very, very slight diameter change. And then you need this bracket here, which is going to have these numbers on there, 0315. So that one is 0317. 0315 is the same, and it's the same for either side. So what are your options with the parts? So I opted on buying new rotors. These are about 90 bucks at the parts store, so that makes 180 for the side. And then you need the brackets. So the brackets are available from the dealership. They usually have to order them just because they're kind of an odd part. I'll put the part number in the description. The cheaper way to do it is what I did. I bought these for $15 shipped on eBay, and they come with the brackets, and just the calipers are just spare parts or trash. The other option, if you really need them in a pinch, you can get them at a local parts store as part of the assembly. They do come with the factory part there, but I opted just for the used ones and just cleaned them up here nicely. So let's get these on. So the install is literally 2 bolts. So on the back of the caliper, there are 2 21 millimeters to the bracket. We're just going to break those loose with a breaker bar. Go ahead and undo them both. What I like to do with the caliper is just run a wire and then just suspend it from the A-arm with a wire. So it's not hanging on any of the ABS wires. Now to get the rotor off, there's a tiny O-ring here that has to be removed. And the rotor will just come off. Sometimes they get a little rusted on there and you gotta like smack them with a rubber mallet, but it comes off pretty easily. Gonna install the new slightly smaller rotor. Secure it with an O-ring. And now we just need to swap out the bracket so we can go ahead and undo our retainer. Be careful, obviously, with your ABS line. So what we're going to do kind of requires a little bit of finesse. We're going to push with our thumbs on the caliper while pulling the bracket out. Now the pads might fall out, so just be careful. There they go. Anyway, we could put the rear pad back in. Then we could take our new bracket. I put a little bit of grease on the slide pins. Insert them into the holes. It slides back. One small note is, since you're kind of putting a new rotor on there, it might be a little bit thicker than the one you took off. You might need to retract the pads. I do this on one of my sides. I like to use this tool. I'll link it in Amazon, but basically you just kind of stick it in there and kind of pushes the pads out. Anyway, so now what we're going to do, put the other front pad back in, make sure it seats. Now install the retainer spring, and it's ready to go back on. You may have to move the bracket around a little bit because it's a floating caliper. Reinstall our bolts. Now just tighten up the bracket bolts. Now we can just install our 17-inch wheel. And as you can see, we have all the clearance in the world. So yes, guys, we did go from a 350 down to a 330 millimeter rotor. That's still plenty of rotor. Now, if you're towing, switch back to the other brakes. You can go back and forth. This took me literally 30 minutes to do. But for off-roading, this gets the job done. It's safe. It's so much better than the people that grind the crap out of these calipers. Please don't do that. And like I said, I don't have to roll the pinch weld. I don't have to do anything. It works perfectly. All right, and if you're curious on how it looks after they're installed, this is in off-road level 1, and it's been fully tested. I had absolutely no rubbing or anything like that, with all kinds of crazy articulations, back wheels off the ground. They fit perfectly. The pinch weld, mod is not done to this car, but as you can see, they fit good. They look pretty nice. So definitely recommend this. Another great perk of having these 255/75 is that they fit perfectly in the factory spare tire wheel. So nice and flat.